So let's just jump right in and start talking about our favorite performance trainers. So the performance trainer is the shoe that you think about. I'm going to go out for a workout today. I'm going to go out for a tempo effort today. I'm going to go out for a fartlek. I'm going to go do some repeats. What shoe am I going to grab that's going to be the most enjoyable and do the job best for me? So this can be a shoe that has a plate. It could be a shoe that doesn't have a plate. What's the shoe that you pick for workouts? Matt, do you want to go first?
A little back and forth on this, but my pick for performance trainer is the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, which is a big shock after trying the first one, because the first one, I'm going to say it, was terrible. The fit was off. It didn't feel good. I didn't want to do anything in it. And I was like, I'm sending this to Bach. I don't like this. And he liked it. So for me, it's the training version of the Deviate Elite, where it's got a carbon plate in here. This version now has almost full length Nitro Elite foam in it. So it's got that bounce in there. 9.1 ounces for men's size 9, 38 millimeters in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for 30, I think. Did I just do that wrong? Is it 8 millimeter drop?
I think you're right.
I'm sorry, I can't remember. Somewhere in that realm. There's a lot of foam underfoot. It's like a 6 to 8 millimeter drop, depending on who you read. It's really great. The plate did take some time to break in. I had a little bit of forefoot pain the first couple miles. Then when it started to break in a little bit, I had a great time using this for longer threshold runs up to like 8 miles, 10 miles. I've done a lot of fartleks, tempo runs, intervals. It's worked really well for all those when I don't want something that's super light and I would just want a little bit more, I guess security is the right word, just because I was really impressed that despite how light the upper is, the power tape works really well to lock your foot in. And each time I'm like, is that little piece of thing just helping hold my foot? And I found it was great. Little bit more snug fit, which actually worked very, very well for me to keep it secure. And just a shoe that I didn't expect to, but then all of a sudden when I wanted a workout shoe that I didn't want to use a super shoe for, I just kept grabbing this. And I think that's exactly what it's for.
Yeah. And just to confirm, I just looked it up. We were at 6 millimeter drop.
So 38, 32? Yep.
We didn't have stack heights, but 6 millimeter. It's all good. David, what do you got for performance trainer?
Yeah, so it's always a tough one in this category because there's so many fun shoes and there's so many different kind of workouts. You know, whether you're hitting track repeats, whether you're doing hill repeats, or doing a 10-mile tempo run. You know, like those are very, very different things. But when I look at it, I try to look at it from the versatility of the shoe. And is the shoe comfortable? Is it light for me? I like it to be a little bit more on the nimble side. I want to be able to kind of pick my steps and do what I want in those shoes. And if I need to change gears, I should be able to. And there it is. I got so many shoes next to me. It's like, I look to my left and I'm like, where is it? I went with the New Balance Rebel 3. And the Rebel 2 wasn't my performance shoe of the year last year. It was in the mix. I remember it being in the top 3, but it wasn't one that I was like, it's nice, but it's like, it's whatever. But with the Rebel 3, I feel like it just locked down a little bit better. I do believe they changed up the fuel cell a tiny bit as well, right? I think they
at least added a little bit.
Yeah. And then the outsole pattern changed. A little bit more grippy. Yeah. And yeah, it just works really well on the road for me. I wish it did a little bit better on the track for me, I'll be honest. The shoes that I like on the track, unfortunately, one of them I can't talk about, and the other one is...
Of course.
Yeah, always. There's always one that I can't talk about, but if it was released, it'd be my track workout shoe of the year easily. But that one I can't talk about. The other one would be like the Skechers Razor. I like firmer, lower to the ground. Like just give me a natural ride that I can trust when I'm on the track. Not the 4 though, but the 3. The 3. Yeah, the original, the 3 and the 3 cloak and the plus. You know, like those ones all work really well for me. The 4 is a little bit higher up. I don't quite like it quite as much on the track. So unfortunately, my performance trainer for this year doesn't really include track as a disclosure for what I'm going to say. But the Rebel works really well for me on the road. It's nimble. The fuel cell's soft enough to where I still feel cushioned on the road. It's got pretty good flexibility. You know, it's not pretty good. It's flexible. Like, I feel natural. I feel like I can do my own stride in it, and I can slow down. I can pick it up. I can do everything I need to. And it's funny because like the other week I was saying, I really wish there was a performance trainer with Nitro Elite in it, and there is. I just don't have it. So I'd be curious to see how that would go. I do think I would like that shoe a lot. But Rebel 3, it just ticks those boxes for me. It's 7.4 ounces, so it's a competitive weight as well to the racing category. I don't have the stack height on me. I know it's a 6 millimeter drop. I just don't know what the heel and the forefoot are. But it's got enough. You know, it's not so high up that you feel like you're like way off the ground and you're balancing, but you feel low enough that you're connected, but you don't feel so low that you're jamming your foot into the ground. So balanced ride, lightweight, something I can trust that I can really lean into. If I'm a little bit higher up, I think a shoe that has gotten a good amount of praise this year, and it's a little bit surprising. It's a company that people wouldn't really associate with this category. It's the Topo Specter. And the Topo Specter has that P-Bax kind of like inner lining, and then it's got that EVA encapsulation around it. A little bit more of an aggressive geometry as far as the rocker goes. Still balanced though. It's not so sharp up front like a lot of these other performance shoes are. So that toe spring is still pretty gradual. And you have a little bit of natural stiffness just from the amount of foam in there. There's no plate in this shoe. It locks down really well. You kind of have that traditional Topo fit where it's kind of more narrow in the midfoot and kind of just snug heel midfoot but wide toe box. And it just works. Like it's a shoe that I think it's like right around that 35-ish stack height. And so if I'm doing like long runs, very rhythmic type efforts, it's lightweight too. Like it's a shoe that I'll put on for those like longer efforts. One that I'm sure we'll talk about, Endorphin Speed 3 is another solid option there. The upper kind of crinkled my foot a little bit, so it missed the list. However, the new Run Shield one is chef's kiss. I actually like that cleaned up the things I wanted in the regular version that I was like, Endorphin Speed 3, it's good, but like, it's just not quite the shoe for me. But the Endorphin Speed 3 Run Shield gets a special nod, but I only have like 20 something miles on it. So, yeah, it's hard to tell. I haven't done too much. We just got these like within the last couple weeks. So, but that's a special little nod there. But I got to go with the Rebel 3 and the Topo Specter for my performance trainers.
Those are good picks. Those are really good picks. My pick switched this week. I had the Trinusa as my performance trainer pick, which I did talk about in our previous episode for stable neutral as well. But kind of what you were mentioning, David, is the kind of shoe that you feel super connected to the ground, and it's rhythmic enough, and it has just enough, stiffness in the forefoot and enough of a rocker. You can just turn over really quickly in this and just feel like you're putting in good work in the shoe. Like you're doing a good work when you have this shoe on is what it feels like. But I took an extra run. Like I said, I was going back through previous episode, I'm going back through the shoes that I have been picking or have had honorable mention just to kind of rehash what it feels like. And I took out the Endorphin Speed 3 for what ended up being a 10-mile tempo run. This is the Run Shield version, but both versions felt pretty similar to me. I agree with you though, David. I love this upper more. I think it has just the right amount of volume in the forefoot, but locks down extremely well through the midfoot and the heel. These uppers are fantastic. Sorry,
I didn't mean to.
You said it wasn't. You just said it wasn't that hot in California for you, and it was like 70s.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I know for me it's awesome for the winter. Like I wore my thin socks and it was 11 degrees without wind chill on the 10-mile tempo that I did this past weekend. AKA yesterday. So this is yesterday. It was like 11 degrees and probably wind chill of like 0 or -1 or something like that. And my feet were fine. So yeah, anyway, I just think I had a hard time with version 1 and version 2 of the Endorphin Speed because of the heel and having it be a little bit more narrow. The P-Bax plate was not stiff enough to create a lot of stability for me. I was really rocky through my heel, and I would get a lot of tibialis posterior soreness and squeakiness after running in the first 2 versions, and I would just get some pain. So I couldn't appreciate what was kind of a fan favorite shoe. Now with the changes that they've made with the 3, it's a bit. That one was a very fast shoe. It was built fast. It was narrow and it was speedy. This is a little bit more broadened and I think suits a little bit more, paces a little bit more differently and isn't quite as quick feeling and quick turnover. It's a little bit wider through the midfoot and through the heel. But then what they did with the plate, you can't see it as well in here, but they spanned this Pebax plate through the full width of the midfoot, so you get a little bit more structure and rigidity through the midfoot, so it feels way less wobbly because of the total width of the heel, as well as that plate that they just widened out a bit. So it's still bouncy. It's still really light. I mean, this thing is how heavy is the Speed 3? 8 ounces, 8.1 ounces in a men's size 9. It's got a lot of stack in 36 millimeters in the heel. It's just a great shoe to be able to turn over in. I've done, I've gotten a lot of miles in on the Speed 3 and now the Speed 3 Run Shield, and I just think it's a great shoe to go fast in, especially for me, like those longer, harder efforts. That's where I think it shines. Less so for, if I'm doing, 200s or 400s, it's not as awesome for that. It still works great. I mean, but I prefer it most for longer tempo efforts. You just get so rhythmic with it, and it gives you just the right amount of bounce. Okay. Oh, the one thing I wanted to say, Matt, about the Deviate, I don't remember if you said this. It has full length with the Nitro Elite foam, but it's a dual density, so it's only a thin amount on the top. So you get that softer feel and a little bit of bounce, but most of it is the Nitro foam.
True.